Hello and happy Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in and choosing to spend some of your time with me. Thank you for joining me today. As you can see, I'm cozy in my robe and I'm cozy with my tea because today is story time with Maria. And today we're talking about Santa. And when we talk about Santa, you gotta get cozy. Quick disclaimer, if you have children in your area who still believe in the magical guy who comes down the chimney to deliver their gifts, you might want to either send them out the room, save this for later, or plug in some earbuds. I'll give you a second. Okay, so let's talk about Santa. When we were younger, we were really poor, as many of you know, and so there were many Christmases that we didn't get any gifts. If we did, we got like maybe one thing. And so the Christmases that we didn't get any gifts, we knew we were good kids. And if Santa didn't come to at least bring us a lump of coal and tell us we were bad kids, he's probably not real. So we knew from a very young age that he wasn't real. A couple of years, go by, and someone had told my mother about these things called the Santa Claus letters. And they said, if your children write Santa Claus letters, somebody will get them and you might get gifts. And we thought, that's kind of weird. Let's try it. So we saved up all of our change and all of our loose errand running money that we would get from running errands for people. And we put it all together and we ended up buying about, I want to say it was about 100 stamps. You can check with my siblings, but I want to say it was about 100 stamps because I do remember writing about 20 letters a piece. At the time, there were 5 of us, and we all sat and wrote these letters. But when we wrote the letters, we didn't just write them for ourselves. We made sure to include all of our other siblings in the letters. So we mailed off all these letters to Santa at the North Pole, 123 Candy Cane Lane. The zip code was like 12345 or something. So we write these letters and we send them off to Santa. Okay, we're not thinking much of it. We kind of forget about it, and we're just kind of settling in for another usual Christmas. Then one day on Christmas Eve, we get a knock at the door. And my mother is very surprised by this because generally people would call ahead, especially Christmas Eve. And when she goes to the door, it's the UPS guy. And he has this huge box. I mean, like a refrigerator-sized box. And it was just so exciting. And he brings in this box, and I remember he was wearing a Santa hat, and then he left, and my mother opened the box. All these presents were in there for all of us kids. Like all of these presents. It was so crazy. And when the next morning for Christmas morning, when we opened the presents, there were coats for each of us and gloves and hats, and there were toys and books for each and every one of us. Like we each got something from this Christmas. And the Christmas card that they sent was a picture of the family. It was the first time, now mind you, this is in the 90s sometime, right? It was the first time I had ever seen a Christmas card that the card was a picture of the family. And I thought, how rich are these people that they can afford a Christmas card with their family portrait on it? And on the inside, they wrote a really lovely note to us, and then they signed it. But there was no return address. There was no other information other than we knew because of the stamping that these people were from Texas. So somehow through the writing of these Santa letters, our letters ended up with this family in Texas, and they took it upon themselves to not just buy us each a gift, but to give us abundance, right? And that's when I realized, oh, Santa is real. He's just not some jolly white guy that comes down my chimney. He's us. He's you, he's me, he's those people. Santa is real, and the magic of Christmas is real because we choose to carry it on and to keep it in our hearts. And so I wanted to share this story because a lot of times people question me when they ask me if my daughter believes in Santa, and I say yes and no. And then they look at me weird, and I go, well, she does know that Santa isn't real, but she also believes in the magic, and she decides to play and to use her imagination, which is wonderful. But every year we go to a tree, we get a couple of tags for other kids, and we buy them presents to give back because she knows that we get to be Santa for someone else. We get to give back. Now, I'm not saying go and get 19 tags from a tree and spend all your savings on Christmas gifts. That's not what I'm saying, because Christmas is really over commercialized. What I am saying is that we get to be Santa all the time. We get to be Santa when we help a neighbor shovel. We get to be Santa when we pull over and help someone jump their car. We get to be Santa when we buy a neighbor groceries or bring somebody dinner, or when we remember someone's birthday and acknowledge it with a card or a cupcake. Like, we get to be Santa, and not just in December, all the time. And isn't that what this is all about? Life and living and love and sharing. It's about being there for other people. It's about giving back. And during this month, it's my favorite time to give back because, you know, people are miserable. So I want to usually give back as much as possible because they're caught up in the commercialism, and or they're dealing with the fact that the sun goes away at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that makes them feel some kind of way. So during the month of December, I'm just going to encourage you, based on this story, to be Santa in someone else's life. Because when you can do that for people that you know or for strangers, you're bringing a little super sparkly everything into their lives and not expecting anything in return, just to do it, right? Like the family in Texas did for us, and how appreciative we are and have been since then. So that's my nugget for you today. Be the Santa in someone else's life, and let's keep paying it forward, right? So that's it. I hope you have a great rest of your week and a fantastic, super sparkly weekend. Bye-bye. Love you.